see that number one next to Cowgirl's name. She said someone's got to take down UNC, and it happened. How does it feel to be leading the first ever number one Cowgirl tennis team?
Yeah, it feels good. I think it's all about the kids. It's all about seeing the joy on their faces, and just how they answered that question was pretty cool. Just for them to be here, IUME for 5 years and kind of been through a lot of things. That's what you coach for, is for your athletes to succeed, and so we're here to support them in any way. But I think the coolest thing for me is winning the indoor title. I mean, when I got here, we didn't have indoor courts, so if you would have said to me when I got here in 2009 that we could win an indoor championship, I would have probably laughed. But I go back to that. It's just kind of having a belief that anything's possible, and people will support you along the journey. So that's a pretty cool moment too.
I know Zach asked a similar question to the girls earlier, but I gotta ask you, what makes this team different than coaches or teams that you coached in the past?
I think IUME maybe said it, just toughness, competitiveness. This is probably the most competitive team, top to bottom, that I've had. We've had some teams that have really competitive individuals, but this team competes with each other like in practice every single day, whether it's just sprints or in the weight room or whatever it is. They're just super competitive. So I think we've learned throughout the course since the fall of how to channel their competitive energy in a positive way, and they're just not going to give anybody an inch, and so that's pretty cool. And I think you can see Sophia coming in, she brings that personality. She doesn't fear anybody, and I think every team kind of needs that first person that gets off the bus and everybody kind of follows them, and it's like, okay, we got this person with us, we can do it.
In any sport, it's kind of hard to beat a team twice.
Yep.
So going into the championship, having to play Michigan again after beating them here in Stillwater, was there a change in game plan? Was there anything with Michigan, or just handle business the same as last time?
I think two things. One is that we knew it was going to be different because we didn't have our home crowd. I think that's obvious, as you mentioned earlier to the girls. That was a huge crowd, so that made a big difference. Two, we knew that they weren't going to stick with some of the same matchups. They were going to try to mix it up. So, in our sport, an hour before the match, you find out kind of like, managers exchanging lineup cards. And so we found out an hour before what they were going to do, although we were pretty confident they were going to switch. You can switch one spot. So I thought they might switch 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6 and get all new matchups. They switched 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. I thought about trying to counter it. You don't know what they're going to do till you kind of blindly switch at the same time, but I knew they were probably going to, and I thought about, should we try to get some of the same matchups for us? But I thought it's been working, and I don't want to send a message to our team that we have any fear if people do different things on us. We're just going to be who we are, and I think it's not broke. Don't try to reinvent it or fix it. So we're going to stay with kind of the lineup as it is, and then we made a few changes here or there, but not much. I think that's given the team confidence, and so I kind of thought going into the finals, best thing I could do is be confident in our team. This is who we are. Let's go in and let's just play, and it's going to be all new matchups. And Michigan did a good job with that. There's a couple matches they turned with some of the new matchups.
We asked the girls. We asked the girls, and we asked you to rank the matchups. Stacking this non-conference lineup. Now you have some hardware to kind of prove the work with it. Is that something you notice as you're going to play back to back, really just top level teams? That non-conference schedule really helping out?
Yeah, I think we got to Seattle. It was like after the first match. Sophia's right. We kind of talked to the girls. It's like there's nobody here that plays at a level we haven't seen before, and I think that really gives the girls confidence. And so, I think it's really important. We had the opportunity with everybody wanting to come here for us hosting NCAAs. They want to come here and see it. I knew it was going to be a tough schedule, so we had to put a good team together, but everybody's responding.
You spoke about putting a good team together. Playing the transfer portal has been a huge part of this team. Is it nice seeing that pay dividends on different courts, like Sophia winning court 4?
Yeah, with Sophia, I recruited her so hard when she was in high school, and she chose LSU over us, but I was just heartbroken at the time. And I just kind of followed her career. I just always believed in her, and as she said, last year had a tough experience, so when she got in the portal, I reached out to her day one, and I think it was kind of comforting to her to know that I was still there and still supportive, because she really wanted to pick from the schools that she had chose from the time before. So I think it's just giving these kids a new home and a new identity. They're not really surprising me who they are. We knew what we were getting, but especially for someone like her, I think it's been rewarding.
We talked about the versatility of singles. Obviously, all the girls could play on pretty much any court, but with doubles, you all have won 7 out of 9 with matches and won them all in the ITA. How big is that to be able to get the first point in most of your matches?
Yeah, I mean, we won 2 4-3s, so the doubles point was key. And that's something that I felt like the tough schedule that we've had prepared us for more than anything was the doubles, because 2 of our first 4 matches we lost the doubles point, and then we've now rolled off 5 in a row. So I think that was really key. In it is just learning like who we are as doubles players. We lost the UCLA match is probably the one match no one's talking about. Like, we were down 2 match points to lose to UCLA, and OB battled that back. And if we lost that match, we wouldn't have gone to Seattle. So that's kind of crazy to think about, but that happened. And we lost the doubles point there in a tiebreaker 7-6. So we kind of put ourselves in some tough spots. So when we got down to, the matches this time around, and we had a doubles point go 7-6 at Auburn, the girls were prepared for it.
Does this just build into the excitement of what knowing that you're going to have so much postseason action going on here?
Yeah.
Does this just kind of build into the excitement of what's ahead for this team?
Yeah, I think so, and I hope it's building the excitement for the fans. It's just cool for people to, like the girls said, kind of recognize what we're doing. It was nice for us to be able to release the ticket sales yesterday. So I think there's a lot of momentum, and that's what we want for our sport. I think us hosting at Oklahoma State is hopefully a chance we can do some things for our sport. I think that we do have the best fans, the best crowds. I think anybody that's come to our match is like, it doesn't get any better. So we want to put that on display, and I think as more people come, that's going to do it. And so I think these girls are building a lot of momentum for everybody in college tennis, because everybody's going to pay, going to reap the rewards of us being really good, because I think more people are going to see what's happening and invest in our sport. But it's definitely a lot of momentum for the team too.
You mentioned when you got here, there weren't any indoor courts. What has it taken to get to this point from an infrastructure standpoint, from an investment standpoint? What's it kind of taken to get to the #1 team in the country?
Yeah, a lot of support, a lot of people believing. And so, when I came in day one, it's like you have to have a vision, and anybody you meet, you got to try to get them on board that, hey, we're going to do something special here. We're going to do something that hasn't been done before, and you can be a part of that, whether it's recruits, whether it's donors, support staff, administration, just selling a vision that we can be a tennis school, that we can be a school that has the ability to do what we're doing right now. Even just raising the money and, being able to design the facility. All the people that I was fundraising to, I was telling them, hey, we have a chance to host a national championship here. And if we build it the right way, we can do it. So then, in 2016, when we got the bid and we could host it in 2020, it was like a little bit of a relief that had paid off, and then COVID came in and took it away. So now to get it back again and to be able to have the team, I just feel very fortunate. I think God's really blessing us in a big way with our team, with how this is all coming together, because it's way bigger than me. And, I think that's the story to tell, is something big is happening here that's bigger than one person for sure.
How do you, manage time in that? Because it sounds like you're having to do a lot more than just coaching tennis. And
Yeah.
you're trying to pull in. So how do you kind of manage all that's going on? Imagine when you got into coaching tennis, you weren't thinking about fundraising and things of that nature.
I think it's just in our sport, it's what you do. If you sit around and wait for people to do it for you, it's not going to happen. We understand where we are in the pecking order of college athletics. And if we want to do something special, we got to get out there and make it happen. And you can't just wait for people to do it. And I think a lot of young coaches ask me kind of some of these same questions. And I'm like, look, it's your job to make the administration care. It's your job to make the fans care about tennis, because they don't know that they should care about it. But if you do some things the right way and you sell people on a vision, kids represent the school in the right way, you can be a window to the university. You can create excitement within the department in a way that people didn't expect, and that's even cooler, because people didn't expect they're tennis fans, and then they come to the Michigan match or whatever, and it's like loud and it's rowdy and it's intense, and people are like, I didn't know. You talk about like Ollie Gordon, he's like, Coach, I didn't know that this was like a thing till I came to the match. And he's like, now I'm back and I'm running the flag and I'm doing all this, because it's like it's something they don't expect. And that's the coolest thing, right? Is everybody's aware of football, basketball, baseball, whatever. They're just not aware of tennis. And so giving them that awareness and making them see is pretty cool. And these girls are just as intense as any other athletes, and they work just as hard. So that's one of the things that I can do. But to your question overall, I think it's just what you do. I don't think about it like any other way. I just enjoy doing it. I think there's a lot of aspects to my job that if we want the program to be successful, you just got to get in there and do it.
You mentioned the transfer portal earlier. In the bigger sports, it's driven by NIL. What's kind of the driving force behind the transfer portal in the tennis world?
You know, I think for us, it's a opportunity. I think it's exposure, but I think the biggest thing is like what we're talking about, the crowds. Nobody has crowds like we have. It's the way we travel. There's not another women's tennis team in the country that flies private planes to all their road trips, but we have donors that step up and do that for us. It's the way we treat our kids. I think they're treated as they would at, you know, a football or a basketball program, and that's what I want. When we built the facility, whether it goes down to the locker rooms, whatever, I want these kids to feel like they're a big deal. And I think when kids come and play against us or they see about our program, they're like, man, that's a big deal. Just like they were talking about, people around the country are starting to say, wow, look at Oklahoma State and all the things that they do. And that's how you attract them. You know, it's not NIL in our sport. It hasn't trickled down to us in that way, but it's like, okay, you really want to play at a school that values tennis, come to Oklahoma State. Just look at the fans, look at the way they travel, look at the things they're doing.
Since Monday, whether it's in the tennis world or outside the tennis world, what are the most surprising contacts you've made? People who have reached out to congratulate or
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, when I looked at my phone after we had won, I mean, it was just like going crazy. My wife asked me that last night. She's like, who's the craziest people? And you know, it has been wild. It's like all kinds of people from your past and all over the world. The coolest thing for me, honestly, and it's not like a surprising thing, but it's just like our alums, the girls that have played, they were watching from Argentina to Thailand or whatever. They're sending me videos of them watching the matches. That to me is the most rewarding thing, is that we brought pride to our former players. You know, a girl like a Malika Rose, who was my first recruit, she sends me like a video text just crying and just like, this is what you told me like in 2009 and it's 2024 and it actually happened. And she was like, I'm just so glad it happened. So yeah, it's pretty cool that different people have reached out, like in the tennis world, you know, whether it's some pro athletes or some coaches, people like that have reached out. And I was like, I didn't know they were following. That's been pretty cool. But I think more importantly, I love the players that have invested in this program, and like when that means more to me than anything.
Are you gonna have a reunion at any point?
It's funny. I have a group text blowing up on my phone of all the former girls. Like, we're all coming to nationals, and like, you got to help us find places to stay and want reunion and
Like you
Leshkova.
need another task that
Yeah,
week.
exactly. Leshkova and Adamovich and all them are like, we're in, like we're doing it. So I was like, you guys got to act fast. We got to pull this thing together where you're gonna stay. But I'm sure we can make that happen.
You talk about Ollie. I saw almost immediately after it was over, Thurman Thomas
Yeah.
put a
Yeah.
social media post out.
Yeah, that was really cool. You know, as a Oklahoma kid growing up and being you know, a kid when he was at Oklahoma State and following Oklahoma State, that was pretty cool. And I responded back to him like, hey, I mean, from a legend like you to recognize women's tennis at Oklahoma State, like, all right, we're on the map. We've done something. But yeah, those types of things are cool. I think that's just that's kind of what it's all about, is making people proud at all levels.
On the topic of all the tasks that you're gonna have when nationals are here, I'm sure as long as you've done this, you probably have been to some and be like, if I ever hosted that, I would do
Yeah.
that differently. Do you get the opportunity to have kind of put your fingerprints on this event to an extent?
Yeah, I think so. I think my fingerprints are going to be all over it. So good or bad, we'll know. But I think that's the greatest point is, you know, that's kind of my MO a little bit. It's kind of what happened with the tennis center. You know, when I sat down to kind of design the tennis center, I sat down with the architect firm. I was like, hey, here's like 5 or 6, I think, the best tennis centers in the country. Here's what I think they do well, but here's maybe what they missed that we can do. And I think same thing. I think that we do a really good job here hosting events, from Coach Holder hosting the golf to Dave Smith with cross country. This event needs to be the best event of these kids' lives, because most of them are not going to play a Grand Slam, but they're going to play an NCAA championship, and they need to go there and say, like, this was worth it, right? All the hard work was worth it. We've gone to some events where it feels like just another tournament, and you're like, I don't even know if people realize this is a NCAA event, you know? And you hear that feedback a little bit. So that's my determination, is for these kids to say, that was the best event of my life. And so we're gonna try to feed them a little bit differently, do some hospitality things a little bit differently, recovery, just put them in spaces where they feel like, okay, this is like the championship event.
Is that kind of the reason that y'all are adding more seating into the Greenwood Tennis Center and kind of resurface the sports over the summer?
Yeah, a little bit of it. You know, I think I've been hoping that we're gonna need more space for fans the whole time, and so under that scoreboard, you know, that I think for me, every time I walk into the tennis center, if there's something that I don't like, I notice it every single day, and for 10 years, I've noticed that area that we were gonna put grass berm underneath the scoreboard, and then the slope was too much, and it just didn't work, and so it's just been this dirt eyesore to me for 10 years. I'm like, we gotta get something done about that. So we're building 2 levels, and we're gonna have some corrals there like baseball, some tailgating type spaces, some entertaining spaces. I think that'll be pretty cool for our fans and just more spaces for people to sit and watch. And I think the place is gonna be packed, and so just a little bit more of a unique space for people to have a different angle and to look over. So I'm excited about that.
Instead of flipping the strikeouts, maybe it's flipping aces or whatever.
That's
you
right,
know,
that's
create
right,
a-
yeah. They'll be right there on that number 6 court.
What kind of crowd are you expecting? I imagine it'll be a pretty big deal. Do you have any sort of estimate or idea what you're trying to draw?
I mean, my goal is 5,000. I think that's a realistic goal. When we were in Tulsa, we set the record for a women's tennis match in 2016 when we played the final against Stanford there in Tulsa. It was about 3,500. I think we can do better than that. And so we want to have the biggest crowd at a college tennis match, and that's about that range. Georgia's always been able to kind of get close to those marks when they've hosted in the past, and I think we can do that with the setup that we have.
Anything else for Coach?